What if you could cut your cost of living in half without giving up the sea, sunshine, or safety? Your neighbors still wave from their doorsteps, and the government might even pay you to move there. Would you even believe it? Welcome back to Retire Without Borders, the channel where I uncover the smartest, safest, and most affordable places in the world for Americans to retire abroad. Make sure you subscribe to Retire Without Borders for more guides on how to live your best life overseas. In the United States, the average retired couple spends around $4,800 per month. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that covers housing, food, healthcare, and transportation, but it doesn't include the stress that comes with being on a tight budget. In Greece, however, an American retired couple can live comfortably on just $2,000 a month. Yes, $2,000. That's less than half of what it costs to live in most overcrowded, dirty U.S. cities. And unlike many so-called cheap destinations, Greece combines that affordability with world-class culture. With Greece's new digital nomad and retirement visas, Americans are moving here faster than ever. But here's the catch. These incentives won't last forever, and demand is rising. So if you've ever dreamed of waking up to blue skies, Mediterranean breezes, and a slower pace of life, now is the time to look closer at Greece. Greece isn't just a postcard. It's one of the most affordable and welcoming places in Europe for Americans looking to retire abroad. And just so you know, they even have a small island offering free housing and a monthly allowance for anyone willing to call it home. But before I get there, let's start with what draws thousands of retirees here every single year, and why Greece might be the peaceful, affordable, and culturally rich retirement you've been dreaming about. Let's start with what matters most: the cost of living. In Greece, that same $4,000 lifestyle can cost as little as $2,000 a month. If you move to smaller towns, like Corfu or Thessaloniki, that $2,000 will be even less. A one-bedroom apartment near the sea, about $650 a month. Move inland, and it drops closer to $500. Groceries, like fresh produce, bread, olive oil, and local cheese, will run you roughly $250 a month for two people. A meal for two with wine is often $20 to $25. And that's at a restaurant with a view. Your dining out is covered. Oh, and don't forget the yummy baklava for dessert. That will run you an extra $2. Fuel prices are higher than in the US, but most retirees don't own or need a private car in Greece. Instead, they walk, bike, or use local buses. Public transit in Athens costs less than $1.50. A private doctor's visit? Around $40. Prescription costs are typically half of what you'd pay in the States. Add it all up, and you can live comfortably, even elegantly, in Greece for 40 to 50% less than back home. And unlike many so-called cheap destinations, Greece combines that affordability with world-class culture, Mediterranean safety, and one of the lowest violent crime rates in Europe. You've seen the postcards showing the beauty of Greece. You see whitewashed homes perched over blue water. You see olive trees stretching into the horizon. You see plates of grilled fish and lemon. And you hear the sounds of laughter echoing from a seaside cafe. But what's often missing from that picture is this. You can actually live here. Not as a tourist hopping between islands for 2 weeks, but you can actually live here as a full-time resident. You can be waking up every day to the rhythm of waves and the comfort of a slower life. For many Americans, retiring in Greece isn't just possible. It's practical. And when you start comparing numbers, it begins to make even more sense. Add to this the fact that you never have to shovel snow for months at a time, and Greece becomes even more attractive. Let's start with something simple and go over what it costs to live in Greece as a retiree. A retired couple in much of Greece can live comfortably on $2,000 to $2,500 a month. Of course, this is depending on the location. That amount includes your rent, utilities, groceries, and enough left over for dinners out and local travel. Compare that to the cost to live in many U.S. cities. Here, $2,500 a month might barely cover rent and healthcare. You can see why so many retirees are looking towards Greece. Here's the breakdown of the costs for living in Greece. A one-bedroom apartment in a smaller town or island? That will run you between $500 to $800 a month. Your utilities and internet will cost around $150 to $200. Your groceries and eating out while living in Greece? You can expect between $400 and $500 total, depending on your tastes. Okay, so what about healthcare? That is important to us retirees. Well, I'll get to that in a moment, but it's surprisingly affordable, even for private services, unlike in the USA. So, in places like Kalamata, Crete, or Nafplio, you can live well, eat better, and stretch your retirement income further than you thought possible. There's something special about how Greeks live, and it's not just the diet. It's the pace of life on the islands. People take their time and are not in a hurry. Meals are long and enjoyable. Conversations don't happen between appointments. They are the appointment. The Mediterranean lifestyle is built on connection, family, friends, neighbors, and community. And while it may sound romantic, it's also practical. Retirees here often report feeling healthier and happier than they did back home. There's scientific backing for this lifestyle. Studies from the University of Athens have linked traditional Greek diets and social habits to longer life expectancy and lower rates of depression among seniors. In other words, living slower might actually help you live longer. I like that and want to enjoy my retirement, not rush around like I did when working. Now let's talk about something that sounds complicated but isn't. How to stay long-term in Greece. If you're from the US, you can visit Greece for 90 days, visa-free as a tourist. That's your short stay. In fact, I highly recommend doing just that. Watch my video, linked in the comments and above, on how to stay long-term in a country before you move. You can see what area you like, meet locals, and determine if Greece is a good fit. Once you have decided to move to Greece, the real option is called the Greek Financially Independent Person Visa. This is often just called the retirement visa. Here's what it requires. You will need proof of income from pensions, investments, or savings. This is around $2,000 per month for one person or $2,400 a month for a couple. You'll need a background check and a clean criminal record. Since you're not a permanent resident yet, you'll need your own health insurance covering you while in Greece. Once approved, you receive a 2-year residence permit, renewable as long as you still meet the income and insurance requirements. After 5 years, you can apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship if you wish. This visa doesn't allow you to work locally. However, you're retired. So for retirees like you with income from abroad being deposited monthly, that's not an issue. So, let's talk about that healthcare. Healthcare in Greece is both affordable and competent, a huge advantage for retirees. There's a public healthcare system called the EOPYY. It's available to residents who contribute to the national system. However, many expats choose private healthcare, not because it's expensive, but because it's so accessible. Private hospital visits or specialist appointments can cost between $40 and $60. And many doctors speak English, especially in larger cities like Athens or Thessaloniki. Prescription medications are also far cheaper than in the United States, sometimes a third of the price. Many retirees use international health insurance, companies like Cigna Global or Allowance, which can cost $150 to $300 a month, depending on age and coverage. In short, healthcare won't drain your retirement savings here. It will probably save them. So, I've convinced you that retiring to Greece is a possibility. You are now wondering, maybe, where to go. Well, that depends on what you want. Greece has hundreds of islands, and each offers a different rhythm of life. So where are retirees actually moving? But 5 regions, in particular, have become favorites among retirees from the US, Europe, and beyond. I'll start with Crete, the island within an island, with nearly 650,000 residents and many expats in towns like Chania and Heraklion. Crete isn't just Greece's largest island. It feels like its own small country. Crete offers the perfect balance of history, healthcare, and modern living. Many retirees choose it for its reliable hospitals, mild winters, and close-knit English-speaking communities. Far to the southeast, Rhodes basks in over 300 days of sunshine each year. With around 125,000 people and a small but growing expat population, Rhodes blends affordability with a resort-like lifestyle. Its old town feels like a living museum, while its beaches and mild winters make it ideal for retirees who crave peace, light, and long walks by the sea. Just 2 hours southwest of Athens, Nafplio sits on the Peloponnese coast. It is a picturesque town of Venetian architecture and seafront cafes. It's popular with both Greeks and expats for its safety, charm, and walkability. Many retirees describe it as Greece in miniature: coastal beauty, culture, and comfort without the crowds of the islands. South of Nafplio lies Kalamata, a relaxed city famous for its olives, beaches, and mountains. It's home to about 70,000 residents, with a modest but steady expat community. Retirees love Kalamata for its low cost of living, housing often 30–40% cheaper than on the islands, and its easy access to healthcare, markets, and flights to Athens, the largest city in Greece and your gateway to the United States. And speaking of Athens, let's take a look there. For those who want proximity to world-class hospitals, airports, and city amenities, the Athens suburbs offer the best of both worlds. Areas like Glyfada, Voula, and Vouliagmeni combine seaside living with urban convenience. These neighborhoods are home to large international communities and provide access to both private clinics and cultural life. This is ideal for retirees who want comfort without isolation. But tucked between all these better-known names, there's one island that almost no one's heard of. One that isn't trying to attract tourists, but families and retirees who want to help it survive. And that is the island of Antikythera. If you haven't yet, watch my video on 10 islands that will pay you to move there. Antikythera is number 1 on my top 10 list of islands which offers incentives to move. Imagine a place so small that everyone knows your name by the end of the week. A place with one bakery, one cafe, one church, and a handful of families keeping an entire island alive. That's Antikythera. Located between Crete and the Peloponnese, Antikythera is home to fewer than 50 full-time residents. Antikythera is a place where history and mystery intertwine. More than 2,000 years ago, craftsmen here built something extraordinary. They developed a bronze device that could predict the movements of the heavens. It's known as the Antikythera mechanism, the world's first computer. This a reminder of how deeply human curiosity and ingenuity are woven into the soul of Greece. However, for decades, its young people left for education and work somewhere else, leaving behind an aging population and a quiet, almost forgotten community. So, the government of Greece decided to do something extraordinary. In partnership with the Greek Orthodox Church and local authorities, the island began offering an incentive to foreign investors and retirees. These include free housing. That's right, free housing. The island council and church jointly manage several abandoned or unused homes previously owned by families who've left. They've offered to renovate and provide these homes for free to new long-term residents who commit to living on the island permanently. Recipients don't get title ownership immediately. They're given long-term use rights, similar to a lifetime lease, at no rent or cost. The idea is simple. If you bring life back to the island, you'll have a home to live in without a mortgage or rent. And though the program began focusing on Greek nationals, it sparked international attention, especially among retirees and remote workers dreaming of a peaceful, purposeful life. The church and municipality have also offered a monthly allowance of around $540 to families, primarily with children, who relocate and stay for the long term. So that sounds great, eh? You can get a free place to live. So, what is it like to actually live on the island? Well, life here is quiet. There's no traffic, no nightlife, no big supermarkets. But there is a strong community. There's coffee shared on porches, and there's fishermen selling the morning catch. For retirees who want simplicity, safety, and sea air, it's not just an island. It's an antidote to the noise of modern life. Of course, island life isn't for everyone. There's no Costco, no Amazon next-day delivery, and no bustling nightlife. The ferry doesn't run every day, and when it does, the schedule depends on the wind. So why do people choose it over more mainstream areas like Thessaloniki? Because for many, the trade-off is worth it. In return for less convenience, you gain more connection. Instead of rushing, you learn to wait. Instead of noise, you hear waves. The challenge is simple. Can you slow down enough to live the life you always said you wanted? If a small island isn't for you, property across Greece is still surprisingly affordable compared to most of Europe. In coastal towns or smaller islands, you can find modest homes for $80,000 to $150,000. You can also find seaside apartments starting around $1,500 per square meter per month. Finally, you can easily find rentals from $400 to $800 per month, depending on region. Also, unlike in many countries, foreigners can buy property freely, and for purchases over $250,000, Greece offers a golden visa, granting residency for you and your family. That's a major advantage for retirees looking to secure long-term status, while investing in a home they can truly call their own. You don't need to be fluent in Greek to live here, though locals love it when you try. English is widely spoken in cities and tourist areas, and communities are famously friendly toward foreigners. What might surprise you most is how quickly you'll be invited in, to a meal, a conversation, or even a celebration. Greek culture thrives on hospitality. Philoxenia, literally, love of strangers. Daily life is simple. Mornings at the cafe, markets full of fresh produce, and long walks by the sea. Electricity and internet are reliable, though some rural islands may experience occasional outages. It's a modern country with an ancient soul, and that combination is exactly what makes it magnetic. Greece recently introduced a flat tax program for foreign retirees. This means you'll pay a 7% tax rate for up to 10 years on foreign income. To qualify, you must transfer your tax residence to Greece and not have been a resident there in the previous 5 years. This makes Greece one of the most attractive destinations in Europe for retirees with pensions or investment income, combining lifestyle with real financial advantage. At some point in this research, the spreadsheets stop mattering. You can compare healthcare costs, property prices, or visa forms all day. But the real question is simpler. What kind of life do you want to wake up to? In Greece, the answer is tangible. It's in the smell of oregano carried on the wind. It's in the sound of church bells at dusk. It's in neighbors who wave without asking what you do, because here, who you are is enough. That's what Greece offers. Not just an affordable retirement, but a meaningful one. For many Americans considering Greece, staying connected to home is surprisingly simple. From Athens International Airport, there are direct flights year-round to major U.S. cities like New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia, with seasonal routes to Los Angeles and Boston. A nonstop flight from Athens to New York takes about 10 to 11 hours, while flights to Chicago run closer to 11 and a half, and Los Angeles, when available, around 13 hours. Round-trip fares typically range from $700 to $1,100, though winter deals often drop lower. Daily departures and multiple airline options, United, Delta, American, and Emirates among them, make it easy for retirees to visit family or welcome friends from back home. Living in Greece doesn't mean being far away. It means being beautifully positioned between two worlds, with home just a flight away. All that said, Greece isn't for everyone. If you need constant motion, convenience, and variety, it may feel too quiet. But for those who crave simplicity, authenticity, and peace, it feels like coming home. Whether it's a cafe in Crete, an olive grove in the Peloponnese, or a quiet home on Antikythera, life here isn't measured by what you have, but by how you live. And maybe that's the real secret. Greece doesn't just offer retirement, it offers renewal. If this spoke to you, watch the next video popping up. 10 stunning islands ready to pay you for a life of paradise. Because Greece might be the beginning, but it's far from the only place calling your name. Before you go, do watch this video on how to test drive a country like Greece before moving there.